Hi, welcome to the Vergas Show. I'm Jerry Hansen, and I'm with Jerry Jacobson of Jake Syrup. Thanks, Jerry, for joining me. We're at that time of year. It's a little bit hard to understand when we've gotten so much snow and our winter's been that way, but to me it's just kind of a sign of spring, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
And we just take the weather for what it's worth and go with it. Now, I know other years that we've been talking about Maple Syrup Fest. It's April 2nd, Saturday, and it'll be in the community of Vergas, obviously, and held at the Vergas Community Center. And people can come to town and they can take in the Flapjack Run, which is at 9 a.m. You can contact anybody on the Maple Syrup Committee and sign up for that. But the big thing is having the fresh maple syrup and the pancakes at the Vergas Community Center, and that's held from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m. And so hopefully people will come to town and take part in that. But to get to that maple syrup part of it, you're part of that, Jerry. Yeah.
Yeah. This year's been a little tough.
A little tough.
A lot of snow. We've got most of our taps out now. We put out 1,500 here in the last week or so. We still have about 400 or 500 more to put in. So
okay, I know in previous years we've been able to be out there by the trees. And tell me a little bit about that tapping process again.
Well, this year, of course, we had to use snowshoes, and it was very, very tough. You had to dig down if you were using buckets, almost 2 feet in the snow. And of course now we're kind of waiting for the snow to go so we can collect the sap. It did run a little bit last week.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. When we've been having this much snow, the sap will still run, right?
Oh yeah, we've probably got a quarter of a bucket of sap out there in each one. So just a matter of getting out to collect it. And it looks like next week it'll probably run pretty good because the temperatures are going to be in the mid 30s to maybe upper 40s. So that's very conducive to a maple run. So
that's what you need, yeah.
Yep.
Now I know that your operation is on part of the tour during the April 2nd Maple Syrup Fest, and Maplewood State Park is part of the tour. Yep. And Dave Putz and Donnie Greenwood are also. And so when people come to town after, either before or after, whichever they prefer to do, they can come out and look at the operation, can't they?
Yeah, most people will eat breakfast at the community center, and around 10 o'clock then they'll decide where they want to go for their tour.
And there will be a map at the community center to let people know where to go.
Yep, there will be maps so people will know how to find us.
Now I find it exciting that Maplewood State Park has gotten in on this. The last year was their first venture. Do you know much about that, what they're doing out there?
Yeah, Stu Peterson and myself helped Bob Hansen and
okay, so obviously if you helped.
Yeah, we helped set up the evaporator that they have and the equipment and stuff like that. And now of course Bob and Jeff and people in the park are taking it over and doing an excellent job in showing people how to do it as a hobbyist. Oh, okay. And they have a flat pan evaporator, and actually it's pretty cool for people that are just wanting to get into maple syrup to see that.
It is, and it's also interesting just for people that are out there maybe taking a hike or a bike ride in the park. They can see what actually happens with that too, even if it's not something they want to get into themselves. Because I'm kind of looking around here in your kitchen and I'm thinking this is a little bit more than I would be able to handle.
Right, yeah.
Tell me what happens. Well, I know you collect it out of the trees. And
yeah, once we collect the maple sap, of course, and we have to evaporate it, and we have an evaporator building outside here where we actually make the syrup. And once the syrup comes off the evaporator, we have to take it in here to finish it and bottle it. Okay. And that's a whole another process.
It is,
right?
Yes.
We have to take the maple syrup from the evaporator and we heat it up again to boiling, and we check the density to make sure that it's the correct density. And once we're sure it is, then we run it through what we call a filter press. And it gets all of the impurities out of the maple syrup that they call niter, which is a natural mineral in the syrup. And once you run it through the filter press, we put it in a bottling unit and then we bottle it. And it has to be at least, we bottle it at about 200 degrees. That way, once we cap it and lay it on its side and it cools, it'll kill any bacteria that would be in the syrup, and it'll keep forever at that point.
Okay. So, forever. Maple syrup is not something that ever spoils.
As long as it's sealed. Okay. Once you open pure maple syrup, you have to refrigerate it. Okay. But we have to bottle it at about 200 degrees just to make sure that once we cap it, it'll keep in the bottle.
Sure. Okay, so when you take it from the trees, and how much that you've taken out of the tree does it take to get?
Well, generally, you know, it's a 40-to-1 rule. 40 gallons of sap will make 1 gallon of maple syrup. That varies, of course, depending on the sugars in the tree. And
right.
the amount of sugar that's in each tree varies, and from season to season it can vary. So.
All right, so here's a question for you. Like, you go into the grocery store and you buy like your Aunt Jemima syrup compared to Jake's maple syrup. Mm-hmm. What's the difference?
Well, most of the syrup, like Aunt Jemima Log Cabin, look at the label. If it's got ingredients, it's basically fake maple syrup.
Corn syrup, right?
Corn syrup, right. If it says pure maple syrup and there are no ingredients, then it's pure maple syrup. It's, you know, the sugars from the tree, and there's nothing fake about it. So.
Okay. So if you mentioned something too about hobbyists that would like to get started. What would be your advice, Jake?
Well, you know, I think if people are interested in maple syrup, there are a couple of things. First of all, try to find somebody local that's doing it as a hobbyist, and mm-hmm. Maplewood State Park is a good example of how to do it as a hobbyist. There's also the Minnesota Maple Syrup Producers Association. We do have a website. It's minmaple.org, and there's like 100. We have 100 members statewide, most of which are hobbyists. And of course there's some commercial producers like myself that are on there. But they're a great resource for people that are learning about maple syrup. You can tour their sugar bushes to see how they're doing it. Everybody's doing it a little bit different, but you get ideas and you know how to do it.
What works for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Well, I would really invite you to come to Vergas on Saturday, April 2nd, and first stop at the community center and have, will some of your maple syrup be there?
Yes, we will have everybody's providing a little bit.
Providing it, and so you'll get the pure maple syrup and the pancakes, and you'll get to come to the great community of Vergas. There are going to be some specials going on in town, so that's always kind of fun too. Everybody kind of gets on board with the maple syrup idea. I know that some of the places do maple cookies, and there'll be sales on some of their maple items, and so be sure and check out all the wonderful businesses in Vergas. And then once you go into the community center, then they will have a map there, and you can have an opportunity to come out here and you can see Jake's. Hopefully you're going to be having some syrup that you're processing. It all depends on what the trees are doing. I understand that, and the weather, but if nothing else, you can at least see what it takes to process maple syrup, and if you can't come to Jake's and can go out to the Maplewood State Park or one of the other places, that would be great. So thanks for joining me today, Jake, and you have a good day in Vergas, and we'll see you on April 2nd.